Boom! Just like that, I'm back. Sort of just like that. Just like that on the screen, but not in real life. What a grinder couple days. It's frustrating when you take people out into the wilds and to see all the beautiful sights and experience all the cool shit, and you just want every single person to have the best time ever. And when it's not, there's nothing you can do about it. It's so frustrating. But it's very awesome. New friends, people come out for the past 2 days. The only 2 days it was windy and rainy and foggy the whole time. Ugh! Drove me bonkers because I can't show them how stunning it is around there where we are, right? And the fishing was real tough too. Still got a whole bunch of fish, but it was tough. Tough! So I'm feeling a little worked, that's for sure. Up at 4, fished till 4 yesterday. Up at 4 the day before. I did 4 days straight, I think. But anyway, I'm back. I'm back. What do we got here? We got Bobby, the late great Bobby Short, sitting here patiently waiting for us to resume. And what else? On the weekend, past couple days, one of the fellas I met, and we might go hunting with each other pretty shortly, is a friend of a guy. Listen to this one. These two guys in British Columbia, they went on a backpack hunt in northern BC. I remember hearing something about this because the police, the part of the RCMP really reminded me. And to make a long story short, these two guys are backpacking out. A grizzly bear came charging up from the rear with a couple of cubs. Cub sat down to watch, and Mom went to shredding one guy, picked him up by his head and was shaking him by his head. And the other guy, they had their guns strapped into their backpacks. I never do that, ever. And I guess one fella got his backpack off while this thing's shaking his partner by his head. And got his rifle out, went to shoot the sow. Now she's looking at him as he's frantically getting the gun out. And I guess apparently she came flying at him. He went to shoot her. The gun went click because the magazine fell out of the rifle on the ground. And he's scrambling to get the magazine off the ground, in the gun, gets it in time. And she just got a hold of him, I think. Yeah, she got a hold of him too, because he shot her. But they were both shredded. And they ended up shooting her, and she took off. And they got a hold of that electronics SOS thing, sent that out, and it was 6 hours, I believe. They had to wait until a helicopter, I think, from Vancouver Island came and got them. And in the meantime, the RCMP got to them first, and an RCMP officer was there to guard them for the night until they could medevac them. And in the night, the police officer took off. Deserted them. And the story just goes on and on and on. The one guy had a stroke from losing so much blood that his artery in his neck was punctured, but the flap that was pushed in his artery flapped back out and shut the hole off, so he survived. Still had a stroke. It just goes on and on. Anyway, I thought you guys might be interested because I guess this friend of mine who's friends with these guys said that Steve Ranella, that TV celebrity hunter, you know my thoughts on the celebrity shit, right? I guess he had some book he was writing or something, and my friend had listened to the e-book version and said that all the stories he had in there, which were near-death close calls, hair-raising moments in the wilds of various people, he said that these friends' story was way more incredible than any one of the stories he had. So he got a hold of the Steve Ranella crew, said, hey, I got this friend of mine had a crazy experience about what his story. And he said they got a hold of him immediately. Yeah, we want to use the story for sure. And he goes, okay. So we put him in touch with each other, and the guy who nearly died, whose story they were going to use to put in their book, he said, yeah, you can use it. I just want to meet Steve Ranella. Can I just meet Steve Ranella as well? And then I'll tell you my story, you can have it. They said no. Oh my God. People are so messed up. Right? They said no. No, you can't. Meanwhile, the guy's just another human being just like us. I don't give a shit how many TV shows you're on. Actually, I think today, this stage of the game, the more TV shows you've been on, the less credibility you probably have in your community with the regular people. So, what the point I'm making is, I said, I'll have him on my channel. I'll let him tell this story word for word here. I think that would be incredible. And he said, I'll make that happen. I said, okay. So there you go. That was yesterday. We'll see what comes. That would be quite the story to hear, right? I'd like to hear every single detail, that entire story from beginning to end, to the no, you can't meet Steve Ranella part, and especially the RCMP officer pissing himself and leaving and running in the night. There you go. Now, what am I doing? Time for a new box of readers. Think I'm down my last one again. But anyway, getting back to the main mission here is making sure everybody gets heard. And as well, we learn as much as we can. And another quick note on that. I was listening to somebody over the weekend. You know, sometimes I get some things passed to me and I will actually click on them the odd time because I get thousands. And I listened to a conversation a man had about going with a woman who had some kind of relationship going on with these other people on rural property. Went with him. And they spoke to him through telepathy. Told him to step away from the woman or something. And boom, they revealed themselves to him. And that's not an uncommon episode that's gone on around possibly the world, North America for sure. But still, even, and I found these stories, a lot of these stories very credible. But still, no one, to my knowledge, has smooth, honest conversation going back and forth with these people. Why? It's a big why for me. How come? Right? Why is that? I wonder why. I don't know why. I got a funny feeling why. I have my own puzzle that's nearly done, but there's a few pieces that seem to be getting moved around. If you know what I mean. You think you got a piece that fits right there, and I can't quite put that puzzle piece down yet. Not right there. Although it could kind of fits right there, but something's making me hesitate. Quite the ride, right? But why is it? Why do you think that these people will not smoothly converse back and forth with us? I mean, I think some people might say it's because they think differently. They aren't the same as us. I get it. But some of the sentences they have got across clear absolutely convinces me that they can put together a whole pile of very clear sentences. You can't just do one clear sentence in English or Ojibwe or whatever language they choose, and then all of a sudden you can't answer smoothly with another. No. Something is stopping them. Something is stopping them from communicating with us fluently. Who has made it? Who has convinced these people to absolutely not do that? You can push the boundaries as much as you are, but don't cross that final line. Right? What's making them stop at that line? That's a pretty good line. They have physically revealed themselves to many people. Intentionally. Why would they do that? Another big question a lot of people will be wondering, well, how come they don't, we gotta communicate with them. We have to protect them and put aside parks and stuff for them and areas for them. Why don't they contact us? Well, that's a very, very easy question to answer. Why do they not contact us? Why do they not just come on right out? If you look at every single indigenous group around the globe who has been infiltrated by what would we call it? Western culture? The West? I don't know. Ground Central, the Catholic Church? Could it be them? Whoever it is, whatever it is, you know what I'm talking about. The flavor when you make contact with a secluded, functioning, indigenous community somewhere around the world. I don't give a shit what color these people are. Could be white, purple, pink, brown, black, whatever. Indigenous people are around the world. And after contact with whatever you want to call it, we'll call it modern civilizations, what happens next? Their turquoise blue water on the beaches become cluttered up with Coke bottles and water bottles. Right? And McDonald's wrappers. The kids wear Coca-Cola t-shirts, tattered shit from around the West, right? And next thing you know, their culture's demolished, and then the next thing you know, their next generation of teenagers are trying to do gangster rap videos. Right? I may not put that across too smoothly, but I'm pretty sure I got my point across. But anyway, if you're very intelligent and you know to be very elusive and you see what's happened to every single community that was functioning pretty good naturally with what they had around them, and then you saw what happened when the modern people came in, why would you want to make contact? Huh? Obviously, it's not a good move. Obviously, right? But I think there's a higher power stopping them. But that's another puzzle piece that I'm slowly putting into a slot for me, and when I get it and it fits, I'll share it. I'll share what I feel, what I know, once I get it absolutely complete. Now, babbling. I haven't had coffee for 6 days. Isn't that crazy? Now let's read this. I think I read that. I did read this. The Vietnam Powell's ape. Read that part. Pause it before. Oh. Maybe I'll read this one. Just in case I didn't. But I know I've read a bunch of these in the past. Maybe not from Bobby's book, but from somewhere else. Now listen, this isn't Vietnam during the Vietnam War. The Battle of Khe Sanh. Khe Sanh is the district capital of Hoang Hoa District, Quang Tri Province, Vietnam. It's located 63 kilometers west of Dong Ha. The horrendous battle at Khe Sanh occurred between January and July of 1968. It is believed today that the rock apes of that era still inhabit the caves at Khe Sanh and its underground tunnels, referred to by enlisted men as rat holes. Few people are willing to enter them, least of all any source of mine. Field archaeologist / biologist Dr. Joe Watanabe, Asian expert on ancient peoples of the world, interviewed a Burmese zoologist who found fresh tracks at the entrance of one of the Khe Sanh caves in 1994. The track size was intimidating, to the extent that nobody's willing to enter the darkness of the cave. Upon seeing the plaster cast of the tracks, Watanabe, ever quick of wit, declared walking into a dark cave was not wise without an M2 flamethrower. Excuse me. The early U.S. Army model of the portable M2 flamethrower was carried in the soldier's backpack and sprayed napalm forth an intense flame of fire toward enemies in rat holes. Man, humans really figured out how to be real shitty to each other, didn't they, during war times? And modern times especially. In this case, it was used to hunt and flush out Powell's mystery monster and Charlie. Thus the soldier's cry, quote, "I love the smell of napalm in the morning," end quote. The Laotian Vietnamese wild man isn't easily stopped by conventional firepower. They were stopped immediately with fire, mainly because they are haired much like the North American Sasquatch. Watanabe said of the rock ape or wild man, quote, "They are strange looking. Some are smart. Others are mute or dumb by some degree of mental deficiency. They have olive-skinned faces and a distorted Asian expression, and they clearly understand fire and the dangers it represents to a man covered in long hair," end quote. Let me go back on that. Some are smart, others are mute or dumb. No different than humans, right? The GIs testified that when they opened fire on a few of the rock apes, not much was left. The American GIs called them rock apes or bloody hell apes, while others called them Powell's apes. The indigenous people called them Ngoi Rung. Ngoi Rung is pronounced Nui Run, Of course it is. Who would have guessed that? Spelled Nguoi, but it's pronounced Newie. I would have guessed that easily without them giving me that hint. Right? It translates forest man, jungle man. The terms Powell's ape is GI jargon for rock ape. Powell was the name of the platoon leader who took command when his men encountered a troop of rock apes. They were observed marching single file up a game trail. Yes, marching bipedally, single file up a trail near Quezon. The Vietnamese wild men, Nui Rung, were, according to Dr. Joe Watanabe, also known to our U.S. Marines during the siege at Quezon. Perimeter sensors around the military outposts were often activated by an occasional elephant, a tiger. Hold on, I gotta flip the page. And even the hairy rock apes launched whatever they could throw, mostly rocks. They're pretty accurate too. Biologist J. Watanabe. Sergeant Thomas M. Jacobs, Vietnam War veteran, was surprised when a band of rock apes threw rocks at his platoon. He was aware of the stories about them and became quite wary of the creatures after one of the rock apes tossed a Marine off of a rock pile. The creatures were dark in color, stocky, and quite muscular. The creature would burst out of the jungles early in the morning and rail at the men, yell, scream, and shake their fists at the soldiers. Jacobs said in a recorded interview for the Discovery Channel that the creature expressed human behavior and took great exception to the soldiers' presence in the jungle. In the same video, Professor Vo Quy, that's Q-U-Y, confirmed that there were wild men living in the jungles of Laos, Cambodia, and Vietnam, and they were very aggressive. They walked upright like a man and were not quadrupedal. There was another story similar in nature to the capture of a wild man that happened in neighboring Laos. A helicopter came up from the military base to the high mountains bringing something strange. Professor Kwai called it a large monkey, but it was much too large to be a monkey and at approximately 5.5 feet tall. Continuing on, the professor said the creature was flown from there to Da Nang. These particular accounts match stories in the press about large primates interfering with military operations in the jungles in November of 1966. And they carry on. A lot of them. There's a lot of people, there's a lot of men who were in Vietnam, served back then, who have emailed in with their first-hand stories of the, quote, rock apes, right? They're there. I almost went there to go check them out. I still might. We'll see what happens this year. I still might. I just love to travel around, meet new people, and I would love to go there and speak to the indigenous community and find out what they know, what they've seen and what they know, as I'm learning all over again in life. Now, we have email analysis part 5. Again, another one. From Kathy Flynn. She analyzes all of the data that you guys have delivered here. So let's see what she has. Ooh, it's a long one. Well, gotta have respect for the time she put in, so let's dive in and read this sucker, shall we? Hello, Steve. I warn you, this will be a long one. I'll start with vocalizations with 478 reporting. The most commonly reported vocalization is the scream or scream/roar. And I admit I struggled with this category. I'll break it down into its components, but first, I combined all the accounts of screams, roars, yells, and howls because they may just be different people's way of describing the same sound. There were 179 people reporting some form of this sound. 86 described a blood-curdling, bone-chilling, bone-rattling, banshee wail, deafening, most demonic, inhuman, ungodly sound ever heard. Big, deep, unnerving, huge lung capacity sound, and 22 of those said they felt it in their chests. All right, so you know what? You know how many recordings we've had sent in and you've heard on the internet? How many have you actually heard that can be described that way, that you've heard recorded and shared online? I don't think I've heard one yet. I've heard some, oh no, we had one. We had one come in here from some guys splitting firewood south of Fort McMurray, Alberta. And that sound could have been described just like this. We had one. So I stand corrected. I was going to say, because the majority of the sounds that I hear that people send over or they record, watch this YouTube clip of this sound, it's always regular human or wolf-sized lungs, which are probably about the same, right? Very rarely does somebody capture this flavor of sound and record it, right? Only a couple, for how common it is. Surprising. Screams like a woman or child being murdered or tortured, including saying, quote, "Help, please, help me," aka slasher movie screams, were reported by 11 people. An additional 6 people recorded gut-wrenching shrieks. 10 people reported being surrounded by several and then screaming. Oh, that'd be a shitty thing to go through, wouldn't it? Wood knocking, whistling, or other vocalizations. 3 people reported screams like foxes mating or fighting. Yells were recorded by 19 people. They were also described as blood-curdling, and 1 person reported feeling dizzy from the yells. Roars were reported 25 times. Roars felt in the body were reported 4 times. Howls were reported 21 times and described as long, long howls. After screams, growls were the next most common vocalization with 48 reports. They were described as the most powerful, deepest, darkest growl ever heard. Disturbing, meanest, and loudest ever heard. They were also described as reverberating, like a bass guitar over an APA system, and their insides shook. 1 person described them as soul-shaking. Whistles were next, with 20 reports. They ranged from eerily beautiful to a groaning whistle, and included an ascending whistle like calling a dog. Whistle-like chatter or whistle language. Whistle language is practiced by people on every continent, and there are at least 70 of them on record. Human whistle languages were written about as far back as the 5th century BC, and they can carry as far as 8 to 10 kilometers, much farther than spoken language, probably much farther for big feet. The next vocalization is barking. 11 people reported barking ranging from loud, deep, and guttural to dog-like. Whoops or hoots were reported by 31 people. Inhumanly loud, with a 6-foot-tall owl, were descriptors. Grunting was reported by 19 witnesses, described as rib cage rattling or a deep bellow. Heavy breathing was reported by 16 people and was described by some as having a vibration that can be felt. Samurai chatter was reported by 9 people. A growling sound like a small engine, a chainsaw, dirt bike, or golf cart leading up to a scream was reported by 8. Calling to each other was reported by 8. Screeching was reported by 8 people. Male voices reported by 7 people. Whispers or hushed tones were witnessed by 5 people. Children laughing or talking was reported by 4. A drunken sailor, deep voice chatter, or gibberish was reported by 3 people. Speaking English had 3 reports. Muttering or mumbling had 6 reports. Loud guttural moaning or groaning was reported by 5 people. Snorts had 5 reports. Blowing or huffing like a horse got 3 reports, and loud huffing or puffing got 4. A gurgling sound or a gurgling moan had 6 reports. Kind of like Chewbacca? Question mark. Answering an elk bugle, deer whistle, or turkey call had 5 reports. Sounded angry had 6 reports. And imitating owls had 3 reports. Imitating other birds got 6 reports. I wonder if some of them were hearing whistle language. Imitating animals had 7 reports, and imitating humans got 7. The next category is paranormal activity. There were 181 people reporting. The most commonly reported paranormal, or not, activity was dead silence / cone of silence with 62 people reporting. Orbs were next with 16 reports. humans shooting Bigfoot, had 15 reports and break down into impervious to bullets. No blood after being shot. Shot had no effect. Shots just made it angry and not afraid of humans or guns. I don't know if it's a paranormal effect, but it's darn strange for a creature said to weigh from 250 pounds to 2,500 pounds, with most weighing an estimated 400 to 800 pounds, to never be verifiably killed by a gun, especially when you compare other North American large animals like Roosevelt elk that weigh from 700 to 1,200 pounds. Grizzlies that weigh from 400 to 700 pounds, normally with the biggest ever killed in the U.S. weighing 2,200 pounds in California, and polar bears weighing from 900 to 1,500 pounds normally, and the largest recorded killed in the U.S. weighing 2,209 pounds. But again, I digress. Mindspeak was the next most common paranormal, or not, activity reported with 14 reports. Remember, these are only from the first 2 years of emails, and humans have been claimed to have telepathy, telekinesis, and remote viewing on occasion. So it isn't out of the realm of possibility, in my opinion. Literally disappearing before your eyes had 11 reports, with some people saying they looked watery or see-through, and others saying they absorbed the colors around them. 3 additional people reported them leaving in the blink of an eye or seconds without specifying if it was paranormal or just their incredible speed. Next, we go to reports of the Bigfoot paralyzing people with fear in a projected or telepathic manner. There were 10 people that reported that. Controlling or interfering with electronics had 9 people reporting it. Projecting fear, terror, or other emotion into a person's brain telepathically but not paralyzing them got 8 reports. Attaching or showing up from dozens to hundreds of miles away to harass a human got 5 reports. Seeing a shimmering or a glimmering shape had 5 reports. The ability to control the human mind got 5 reports. If you want to hear something fascinating, there's a video on YouTube called, quote, "Can you be programmed to kill on command?" End quote. It delves into the process of programming human brains and contains some pretty startling facts. No doubt. Zapping or disorientating a human had 5 reports. Zapping a dog had 4 reports. Lost or frozen time might be a product of being zapped, or it could be from dysregulation of the brain, aka limbic hijack. It was reported 4 times. Floating or gliding was reported 4 times. Portals and movement through them were reported 3 times. Moving through solid objects like trees or walls had 3 reports. Making people sick, not just nausea or vomiting, which is not a paranormal function in itself, got 3 votes. The next category is the longest by far because I did some research on PTSD and limbic hijack. I feel that it's important in understanding our reactions to seeing or otherwise encountering these beings. The category is human reactions to an encounter of the Sasquatch, with all 705 people reporting. Some people reported more than 1 response, so there are over 1,000 responses. The first responses reported were feeling watched, 64. Feeling uneasy or a sense of foreboding, 25. Feeling a presence, 19. Or feeling pressure, 2. These were reported as happening prior to the actual encounter, but could be considered part of the overall encounter. I broke the reactions into normal reactions and dysregulated reactions. Although it seems like normalcy goes out the window in regards to Sasquatch encounters, especially those with paranormal elements. For instance, it's a well-documented modern reaction for people to film any out-of-the-ordinary event on their phones. That changes in Sasquatch encounters, probably because minds are too busy trying to choose an appropriate response to an encounter. Only 1 person out of 705 thought to take a photo, and none thought about filming it. Out of 705. Surprising to me? Nope. Not at all. Dysregulated simply means the person has entered a traumatic response state, whereas normal means the person's responses are not yet in and of themselves traumatic. It's nebulous at best, and I don't mean to insult anyone by saying the response was abnormal. That's not what I meant. You can have an acute stress response, which is a normal psychological response to a perceived attack or a threat to survival, and still be in what I call normal range. It's the first stage of the general adaptation syndrome, and it's what regulates stress responses among all vertebrates, and is also known as hypervigilance. Excuse me. It's that stage where people feel watched or uneasy. What I'm calling dysregulated are those responses which, although probably normal in a physiological sense, helps create an overwhelming experience which becomes traumatic. So we're talking acute stress responses versus traumatic stress responses. That's probably clear as mud, but I'm trying to show that PTSD and its many faces are in actuality normal in the encounters and can be overcome. So please bear with me. Hopefully it will all make sense later. The number one normal reaction to a Sasquatch encounter is intense fear or terror, and was reported 365 times. I'll break that down into its components, as again, people have different ways of expressing the same thing. I liken it to the blind fear some animals have of humans, even dashing from the middle of the road to the side and back in front of a vehicle again. 76 people said they felt intense, overwhelming terror. Some were military or prior military and said they never were that afraid, even in combat. Another 8 said they felt terror, but didn't categorize it as intense or overwhelming. 10 people said they felt terror, then felt projected calm and peace. 10 people said the experience scared the scat out of them, figuratively, and my word, not theirs. 21 said they felt intense fear, not terror. Another 11 said they felt spooked or creeped out. 24 described the feeling as being scared. 45 people said they were frozen in fear for varying lengths of time, with the longest reported time of 30 minutes. 9 said they believed they were frozen paranormally. 19 felt what they described as primal fear or primal dread or dreadful fear. 5 people said they felt panic, and 2 more said they felt projected panic. 3 felt impending doom. 5 felt hunted or lured. 4 said they went into fight mode, with another 5 saying they got angry, which is more or less the same thing. 2 said they were unnerved. 3 screamed, and 8 couldn't speak or scream. 64 people reported leaving the area immediately, and 24 said they felt an intense urge to leave. Was it projected? They didn't specify. 11 people couldn't sleep after their encounter, or stayed up all night. 21 said they left early or left at first light. 14 ran away. 19 walked or ran to their vehicle. 5 ran to their house or RV. 5 said they floored the gas pedal as they left. 9 walked backward to keep the creature in sight as they left the area. 6 prayed or invoked the name of Jesus. 4 said they stared straight ahead to avoid looking at it. 13 people said they yelled at it. 4 said they spoke out to it, and 3 said they mimicked it. 3 people reported resisting the mind speak or terror. 5 said they forced themselves to move after freezing up, and it was like walking in mud or cement. 4 people dropped their gun. At least 1 left a prized inherited gun and never went back for it. 4 said they felt their gun was inadequate, and 4 reported getting a bigger gun. Polyerection, or hair standing up on end, was reported by 28 people. Reported by, I'll bet you 100% of them had it. The purpose of it is to increase skin conductivity and reactivity, which help identify changes in the environment. It can be an emotional response or physiological response to an increase in heart rate. Goosebumps or chills are related increase the skin surface. 7 people reported getting a chill up their spine. Now we get into the dysregulated responses, or what some people call limbic hijack. The limbic system is also referred to as the lizard brain. It's the part of the brain that controls instinctual and subconscious function. It's our most basic system, and it controls not only instinct but also emotional and impulsive responses. When we experience trauma, which is anything that overwhelms our ability to process the event at that time it happens, our brain can be hijacked from the rational and thoughtful parts of our brain into the limbic system, which is triggered by a perceived threat to our survival, which reverts us into survival instinct. This triggers certain hormone releases like cortisol, adrenaline, estrogen, and testosterone, and glucagon, as well as neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin. These hormones prepare us for fight, flight, freeze, or fawn responses. We won't concern ourselves with fawning. I've never heard of a human fawning over a Sasquatch yet. These hormones these hormone releases create a very rapid generalization response. An abrupt emotional upset can trigger it, and so can an abrupt fall in blood pressure, as happens in psychogenic shock. These hormonal releases result in an increased heart rate to prepare us for intense physical activity. 8 people reported a racing or pounding heart during their encounter. 22 people reported symptoms of losing or almost losing consciousness, whether from the emotional or mental psychogenic shock of meeting a Sabe or a physiological response to meeting one. Here's how they break down. 9 reported fainting or almost fainting. 4 more report collapsing or falling down during or immediately after the encounter. 1 person reported their face, mouth, and hands went numb, a precursor to fainting. 9 said their face or a companion's face turned white. This could be psychogenic shock, which comes from a bad scare or a physiological response to dilated blood vessels. 3 said their head or ears were ringing, which can also be a precursor to fainting. Anxiety, aka hypervigilance, is a normal acute stress response to a life-threatening event. It becomes a dysregulation when the anxiety continues long after the event and presents as a symptom of PTSD. 10 people reported being so scared that they felt nauseated. 2 people reported vomiting, and 1 said they cried so hard they felt sick. 3 more said they got a sickly feeling when working in an area the Sabe are known to frequent. This is a normal physiological response that is part of the body's preparation for violent or intense muscular action and to increase speed and strength through increased blood flow to the muscles by delivering it from other parts of the body. Digestion takes a large amount of blood. Vomiting the stomach contents allows the body to divert that blood to the extremities. Oh, that's interesting. Urination and defecation are also the body's response to fight or flight. You can't run as fast if your bladder is full and painful, and the same goes for defecation. 10 people reported messing themselves during the intense fear stage of their encounter. Respiration increases oxygen, the blood, and help burn extra glucose for energy. Increased pupil dilation lets in more light. Increased muscle tension provides the body with more speed and strength, which can result in tremors or shaking until that tension is released. 14 reported shaking from fear. Some reported terrible whole body tremors. They can interfere with the fine motor skills, which would put it in the dysregulated subcategory. 18 people reported crying or sobbing. It's a way to release the negative emotions, but could be a dysregulation if it interferes with necessary functions like driving or running. Some men aren't comfortable crying around other men, which can increase the negative emotions and push the person into a more intense traumatic response. 5 people reported being so afraid they can't remember the event or details. 3 reported lost time. 4 said they either lost or blocked their memory, trauma blocking, only to remember it years later. 3 reported they went into shock. 3 reported they freaked out. 26 reported brain fog or confusion, disorientation, disbelief, feelings of having a bad dream, bewilderment, being incredulous, feeling drugged or having blurred vision. 7 said they felt weird. 7 reported being disturbed mentally or emotionally traumatized. 5 reported being forever afraid. 2 couldn't get it out of their mind, obsessive or intrusive thoughts. 20 reported that the terror comes back when they remember the event, with some reporting, crying, fear, high anxiety, apprehension, plioreaction, shaking and nausea. Those emotions are natural but can lead to trauma blocking, which can lead to PTSD. Getting a frog, excuse me. Adrenaline increases muscle tension and increases breathing. And eventually those can cause knee weakness. I've had that a bunch of times. After the shit went down, unprocessed trauma can result in nightmares, sleep paralysis, or night terrors, reported by 8 people. Dissociation, intrusive memories, avoidance of a certain place or avoidance of a certain topic, and therefore avoidance of people who experienced it with you. There you go. One of my questions answered. The emotional toll is so heavy, you do anything to avoid it, which is called trauma blocking. 18 people reported that they never speak about the event. 6 said they don't speak to the person who was with them during the encounter. 20 said they avoided the area the encounter occurred in. 22 said they gave up the activity they were involved in. 8 said they avoided the woods completely. 6 said they never engage in the same activity alone. 11 people said they avoid the activity or area after dark. 4 said they are unable to sleep since the event. Hypervigilance. 2 people moved away from the area. One person reported feeling hopeless. 3 said they felt a sadness they couldn't explain. 2 reported feeling suicidal. 2 suffer from depression or anxiety since the encounter. 1 said they feel pain, discomfort, sadness, or fear. 2 said they kept staring into the dark areas. 2 said they keep staring into dark areas. 9 people reported being shut down by parents or being forbidden to speak of it by others. Symptoms of PTSD can be reduced by getting at least 30 minutes of exercise a day, not isolating yourself, especially the person or persons who experience the event with you. You don't have to discuss the event, but being with friends or family who accept you is important. 85 to 90% of people never develop PTSD, only 10 to 15% do. We all experience things differently, and the more you experience things, the less likely you are to suffer from limbic hijacking. This concludes analysis of the first 2 years of emails, totaling 705. I'll let you know if the next 300 emails result in any more patterns. Best regards, Kathy Flynn. Holy shit, that's a lot of time you just donated to the people in this community, Kathy. Really appreciate that. Filled in a few little minor puzzle pieces for me, especially the part about not talking to anyone. Right? Whew. There you go. That's a good long one. I hope somebody learned something from that. Help somebody. Especially all those people who are sitting in silence watching this channel and not even admitting you're watching it and not telling anybody what you saw. I know there's a shit pile of you sitting here right now. And that's fine. That's fine as long as it's helping. Excuse me. But anyway, here we go. First morning home. Out the door I go. Got a lot to do. I bent the axle on my little flat deck trailer by putting too much hay on it a couple years ago, and I burned off a couple of tires driving north and back. So I had to order a new axle, and I get to go pick it up today, and now I got to go put that on. It's always something, right? And then there's probably about 50 other things I have to do on top of that. But anyway, keep your truth and experiences coming in, all right? And I'll keep sharing it. I'll keep digging myself. And hopefully I got some time. Like I said, I pre-warned right now, this is my chaotic time of the year. So there's only so much I can do when it comes to this group and this topic right now. Whew. What else? Going up north where my knife was replaced in my backpack. Is my axe going to show up? Don't know. Sarah's possibly coming with me for the beginning of the hunt. Crazy, right? I wonder what that'll bring into the mix of experiences up there with the people that are living in those forests up there, which I know they are. And they have made it quite clear to me. But I'm still going there, so we'll see what happens. That's going to be in a month. It's pretty quick. I got to get my shit done. Oh, Sarah revived my old blacktail hunter hats. She's got some new blacktail hunter hats in the store that I made years ago. Then she dug them up, got some made, threw them in the store. What else she used? Oh, she got these old, I had these decals made. Decals, stickers. I had these made 5 or 6 years ago. Blacktail hunter stickers from the people who made them originally for me, but they put a white border around the edge, which I didn't like myself. It's optional, but I took a pair of scissors and I cut the edge of the sticker off. When I put it on, I put one of these on my truck right away. I'll show it to you here 1 second. What do I got here? Hold on. Where is it? Here it is. My truck's filthy from coming home, but I stuck one of those on my pickup. You can see that? And I trimmed the white border off of the decal myself. Some may want to or may not want to. I don't know. But anyway, she got those in there, and she got these in there too. And I made these years back, and I got these on couple of my boats, but the people didn't make it the way I want it, because it's supposed to be see-through right here everywhere. But anyways, we got these anyway. If there's any blacktail hunters out there watching this channel, I'm sure there are. The Pacific Northwest, right? The Pacific Northwest blacktail hunting. There you go. What else? I think she still has these. And they're going around the planet. That's all I got. I'm out of here and I'll be back later, guaranteed. Well, probably.